What is happening, people? Let's get into today. Yesterday, I took two break evens, one on GU and one on EU. So GU, I tried to sell in here, 1 to 2.5, and then EU, I tried to buy in here, 1 to 2.5. But that's fine. Happens, all part of the puzzle. Really close to my take profits, but it is what it is. So moving into today. Now, I would like to think the market can go up giving structure. So what we've got on GU is we're reacting from a point that necessarily I don't think should hold. We've kind of already pushed through the decisional. This more or less I would just call it demand to supply to demand. So I don't think it'll hold given current structure. And given that this is a demand to supply. I think it holds a lot of weight. So I'm quite happy to keep selling from here. I'm expecting this point to have enough juice to kind of push it to there to then melt. So I'm happy to sell once we take this midline Asia here. So I'm happy to sell off of that. Apart from that, I don't really want to buy. Now it does make sense to actually buy through this point. I will look at it if we're there in half an hour, but the higher quality play is the sell off of here. Ideally, kind of what I want to see is pushing up into this area and creating that liquidity and then that push down here, because then I'll really like that trade there. I really do like that. So GU, continuation sells, but also understanding we can buy from here. We're just coming from a valid point and it's such a slow move down. This is looking like such a complex pullback, which is making it 50-50 in my mind. Given where we are on the 4 hour, it does make sense to actually sell off a little bit further, and it is giving that look of sells at the moment. So I'm going to continue with what price is telling me, not what I expect to have happen. Now, Euro is just complicating the whole thing a lot more. We are in our extreme decisional, extreme point of this internal break of structure, so low to high. We are in that extreme now, and we haven't come to the area of supply yet. We're more or less just in a smart money trap. So buyers are valid. Now, given where we are, we're reacting out of a 30 point. I don't think it holds enough. I would rather come down lower to the 15-minute point. This sits at about 15 pips. So realistically, either raw is fine. We've started to get that reaction out of it. We've had an inducement into that mitigation and push out. In terms of where we can target, the internal range is more or less here. That's more or less our internal range. And we've just got no structure formed. So it makes it very hard on EU. We've got not a lot of liquidity to target, nothing to really work with. This here isn't necessarily anything either. So it just hasn't given us a lot. I actually don't like EU for today. What I am open to is more or less the same type of situation and buy through this. I just don't think it'll present, but we'll see where we are in half an hour. Buys make a lot more sense given where we are on EU, but we are bearish. Internally, externally, it's just this range here. I guess you could have like external range or external range, completely up to you. But we've got hourly bearish with a major inducement, and then internally 15-minute and externally 15-minute bullish, internally bearish. And this is the divergence with G of a mitigation of an hourly point. So we're very, very 50-50. Given the current climate of the world, it makes sense to sell. Really, really good use and take of liquidity here into that decisional area. I believe, what did it do on the 5-minute? It mitigated that decisional. So we've completed the structure cycle and then pushed away. If I read internally on the 1 minute what happened after that, created really, really good liquidity, broke structure, have created this level of retest above it. So I would like to just pretty much continue selling. So I don't want to sell until we hit this area. I don't think this holds enough weight. We've got more or less break with a 2-leg up. It did create an internal structure cycle. It's just all very filled. Realistically, this should be a trap. Ideally, what we'll see is a quick move into here. If we have a quick move into here, buyers up until this area makes sense. If we have a slow retracement into here and then build up liquidity around this, I'm okay to sell from this. This is just a random decision, or it doesn't hold any weight, but it did create a structure cycle with 2 points to then break that low. It's an area of break and retest. So I would ideally like to buy up to it, like I said. And I think that makes the most sense today. So EU buys to sells, GU more than likely just sells. Structure completed, pull down, structure completed, pull down. Area of retest, which is also 2 points. Realistically, it makes sense to buy to here. But this is valid retest to make this a smart money trap to then sell off. So we've got 2 sell areas. And given what price does, I'm open to buy to those areas. But GUIC is more of a retracement. EU, I see the possibility of coming up a lot higher. Personally, coming into areas like this, creating that structure, inducing, and then selling off for that liquidity to continue with that bearish structure there. So could be a bit of a wait on EU. I do like buys to sells, and then GU is very, very 50-50. You can do either. AU, we've now taken break and retest liquidity on a higher time frame. So we've got our daily break of structure, break and retest. We've now taken that down to the 15-minute. We've more or less come into the internal structure area now. We've got break, high, low, high, low. Very, very small internal break. Show we're coming a little bit higher. This area is just retest, so this shouldn't hold. I don't think it even took any liquidity. It did react off the bottom area of this point, so it is actually demand to supply. We've come into that area of demand to supply. It makes sense to sell off here, but ideally what I kind of want to see on this is pull down here, trap area, buys to that higher level here, where we could just continue bullish. Okay, so that's where the 50-50ness comes in. I will need one inducement followed by a second inducement in order to take a trade. If I don't get those, it's probably going to sell, especially given that that is a demand to supply area. We just didn't retest the bigger external break, but we've got internal break, and our bigger range is more or less this range here. Just pull down and push, pull down and push. No taker liquidity, no inducement. That's our bigger range here. We've mitigated the area, no retest. Very 50-50. I would like to sell from this area here. I think it makes the most sense, but given what we've taken, it makes sense to just take the highs and target this trend line here. Makes a lot of sense. So I am open to buys. If we kind of read what's happening now, inducement, mitigation, we've got this area of internal retest. Like I said, I need the 2 inducements to the downside, and then we can more or less go off of that. We've got this really good demand to supply. Supply to demand area that sits here. All we do is we want those inducements in that area like that. Okay, that's all I'm looking for at AU. Nothing else. DXY is following exactly what we wanted to do. Taking the low, DXY is bullish. Okay, so selling everything else makes more sense. I would be very surprised if the DXY pulled back down now. Very, very surprised. It's at a higher high. It hasn't taken the internal point yet. The only way you kind of sell off of this is if you take this. So we buys to sells, sells to buys. Yeah, the DXY is just not helping. It makes sense that everything should just keep melting. This has completed the structure cycle in one direction. Like I said, if it doesn't give those inducements like that, I'm not interested. If it actually pushes up in here, I'm okay to actually sell through this low. So that's something I'm open to, but we'll obviously watch for that. So if it pushes itself up now and induces into, okay, well, there you go. It didn't even give that. So A is probably off limits. It's not really giving much anyway. It's kind of taken break and retest already, but I like that as retest. EU may just keep melting. So everything's really looks like it's answered for us. We'll see what if the price wants to slow down in the next 30 minutes. I'll be going live with the premium group, so link at the top of the description for that. All the free links are also below that. Any questions, drop them in the comments, and let's have a good rest of the week.